Good evening and welcome. I'm Chris Parnell.
Reporting from Moscow
to Tbilisi,
Times Square.
May your dreams be your only boundaries in life.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of GHS-TV's award-winning talk show, Crosstalk. I'm your host, Raneem Imam. Each week in this time slot, we take a look at different issues, personalities, and events that affect you and our community. Summer is right around the corner, and if you're planning a big vacation, you may be feeling the pressure. With the increasing number of travel websites and apps, there are almost too many options to choose from. That's why more people are once again turning to travel agents to help plan a one-of-a-kind vacation. Today we will talk about different types of vacations with travel agents from Travelenium and Travel Leaders. Joining me now to talk about exotic vacations is Lisa Van Stolk from Gulliver's Travel. Thank you so much for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, if people wanted to take an exotic or extreme vacation, Gulliver's Travel is the perfect place to find an amazing trip.
Gulliver's Travel has a long history of doing exotic vacations, trips to Africa, trips to India, trips to the Far East. One of our owners, Jan Oglesby, has been to China more than 30 times, and also to safaris is a passion of hers as well. So we can do many, many different kinds of exotic vacations for our clients.
Well, describe the process of putting together an exotic trip.
First, when we talk with our clients, if they have already identified an area of the world that they would like to travel to, we make sure that that area is the area they want to go at the time that they want to travel. There are better seasons than others to do safaris. For example, in Africa, if you wanted to do a safari in Kenya during the Great Migration, you don't want to do that in certain months. The animals won't be there. If you would like to go to India, the best times would be between November and February. If you go at the end of August or September, it'll be incredibly hot. So there are different things that we need to talk with our clients about before we even begin to plan.
Well, do you set them up with an itinerary for these trips, or do they usually get there and have free reign?
No, what we try to do is have an outline for them. Their flights, their transfers, their hotels, and their primary tours. Again, leaving time open for them to explore and experience and to enjoy those once-of-a-lifetime things that come along that can't necessarily be planned. But we try to make it as seamless as possible so that their focus can be on their experience and not trying to figure out what's going to happen next.
Well, you actually came back from an India trip. Tell us about that.
That was 12 days, starting in Mumbai and going up to the beautiful cities of Udaipur and Jaipur, and across to iconic monuments like the Taj Mahal in Agra, over to Varanasi, the holy city, and up to Delhi. It was a trip that for anyone would be a trip of a lifetime. And it was planned through one of the companies that we use a great deal, and it was a seamless trip from beginning to end, and a memorable trip. I would recommend it to any of my customers to do.
And you actually went on this trip?
Yes, yes. It was a trip that I did go on. It was something that I had a hand in planning, as well as a trip to experience new tours and opportunities that we now can offer and recommend to our clients with great certainty.
So this is common for travel agents to go on trips?
That traveling is the best way to be able to then convey the excitement and the real life experiences that make it valuable for our clients to come to a travel agent rather than perhaps choosing and making their plans based solely on a website.
Well, you also have vacations for the European destinations and some cruises. Tell us about the European travel package.
Right now, river cruising in Europe is very, very popular. One of the lovely things about river cruising is that you unpack once. You, unlike with big ship cruisings, the smaller river ships come right into the center of towns. You have many more things included in your itinerary, and you have a lot of opportunity to do things on your own as well. And there is something very magical about ending your day floating down river and watching castles, if you happen to be on the Rhine, or beautiful, beautiful, spectacular scenery go by.
Well, if a client was being very indecisive, how would you help them make a choice for where the best location is for them to take a trip?
We would take into account the time of year that they're going and their budget. We would take into account whether they have passports and their interests. We try to be matchmakers in expressing for our clients. We listen to them very carefully and we try to incorporate their interests to match them to the best holiday. And if we happen to know of specials, if we happen to know of promotions, of course we'll recommend those, but only if it fits the client. There's a cheap holiday, but if it's not what the client is interested in, it won't be their most memorable holiday.
Well, you also offer honeymoon vacations. What are some of the common places for people to take honeymoon vacations?
From Memphis, it's not that we lack imagination that many of our honeymooners go to Jamaica or Cancun. A lot of it is dictated by how easily and the cost of our flights. There are beautiful honeymoon spots in Mexico and Jamaica. Many of our honeymoon clients would like to go to islands that are a little further afield, might require another stop or a transfer by plane, or a more limited itinerary of what days of the week they can go. So those would be to St. Lucia, Antigua, St. Kitts and Nevis. The Caribbean and Mexico are still very popular honeymoon destinations, but we do have honeymooners that I have sent on ski vacations. I've sent them to Europe, I've sent them hiking. So there's no stereotypical honeymoon holiday.
Well, if someone wanted to go a little out for their honeymoon, how would you specialize a unique honeymoon package?
We can custom build just about anything. The clients for whom I've done honeymoons where they've begun in Italy and ended up skiing in Zermatt, Switzerland, have done honeymoon vacations that have been involved in what their passion is, whether it be wine lovers going down in Bordeaux in France or Napa Valley in California, or for people who sail and want to go to the British Virgin Islands, and their idea of the perfect honeymoon is sailing between the islands in the British Virgin Islands.
Well, Ms. Van Stolk, you actually specialize in group trips. So if there was a big group wanting to go on an exotic vacation, how would you form that to their liking?
We try to find out if the group has a group leader and talk with the leader so that there's not a lot lost in communication. And then we cite the parameters of the age groups to make sure that the trip that we have is going to be interesting and doable by everyone. We don't want to do a group trip that specializes in long walks if it's a multi-generational trip and the grandparents' mobility is not as great as the grandchildren's mobility. We will set up budgets, time frame, and then whether these people want to be independent or whether they want to be part of being escorted through most or all of their trip. Cruises can be wonderful for groups because that gives a little bit of independence and people can join up at dinner and share experiences. So it's communication and listening to the people who are coming to us to plan the best group.
Well, we've read that more millennials are turning to travel agencies to get a one-of-a-kind experience for their vacations. Do you find that this is a case?
We are having lots of younger people come by. I think that the wonderful information that's available on the internet allows them to do a lot of research and see what's out there, but they'll come to travel agents to formalize and actually make the bookings. It gives them a feeling of security, knowing that you're dealing with someone face to face, someone who might have had experiences visiting that same place. And you don't like to think of things not going right, but it's awfully nice to have someone to call if something needs to be changed or if something needs to be done in case of, well, things happen. So we're very happy to be able to help everyone.
Well, where would prospective customers go to find out more about Gulliver's Travel?
Gulliver's Travel has a website, gulliverstravel.com, and you can call us at our Germantown office, 754-9300.
Well, Ms. Van Stolk, that's all the time we have today, but thank you so much for coming on set with us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for inviting us.
And when we come back, we'll talk about traveling on a budget. Stay with us.
My wish for you is that this life becomes all that you want it to. Your dreams stay big, your worries stay small. You never need to carry more than you can hold. And while you're out there getting where you're getting to, you want to say things to. Yeah, please, this life, please. 'Cause nothing ever gonna make this world better if we don't start believing that love really, really, really is the answer. Everybody join hands 'cause it's time now. Spread the love all over the world. Spread it all over the world.
Welcome back. This week we are taking a look at different kinds of vacations and how travel agents can help you plan the trip of a lifetime. And what can you do if you want a memorable vacation but need to stick to a budget? For those answers, we turn to Cheryl Keating from Travelenium. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for
Ms.
having me.
Keating. First, I'd like to congratulate you on 2015's Best Travel Agency from the Memphis Most Awards.
Well, thank you.
So what made 2015 such a pinnacle year for your travel agency?
I think people were just more interested in going places again. I think that for a while people were a little afraid, but now they decided it's their vacation, they've earned it, and they're going to go out and get it.
Well, you have a lot of amazing offers from exotic travel and also cruises, but on this segment we're going to talk about budgeting. So could you take us through your process of how you budget a trip?
Well, really the person has to sit down, the client has to decide what they're trying to get out of this trip, what they want to do. And then when they tell us what they want to do, then we sit down and discuss what parameters are. There's different kinds of vacations for different kinds of budgets and different kinds of places to stay and ways to get there, depending on the person's budget. So as an individual thinking about a vacation, it's really important for the individual to say, this is our max budget. And then when you go into a travel agency and have the discussion, he or she now knows where to start looking instead of either doing something completely too much or much less than you had planned on spending. So that it's really communicating. The most important thing with a travel agent when you go in and talk to them, because they're absorbing everything you're saying, is communication, and not to be afraid to communicate.
Well, some people like to go big on a low budget and go to exotic destinations.
Right.
So how do you make sure that they get their money's worth of a trip?
Well, we look for value. You know, it's not always about the dollar, a lot it's about the value. So there are certain times in the years where it's less expensive to travel. Maybe take one night off of the trip so you can stay in the nicer hotel than your budget allows. There's different ways of doing it, but traveling certain times of the week, it just maybe changing your destination. Maybe this isn't the right destination for you at this time with this budget, but you know what? This one is really comparable. So it's just really being open to ideas.
What regions of the world offer the best value?
Well, it really depends on where you live, but from here in Memphis, Cancun is very, very, very popular. You do need a passport to go to these places, but Cancun is very popular. Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic is very, 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 very popular. The Bahamas are very popular. Florida is wonderful, still Florida. And if you want the Caribbean flavor, you can go down to South Florida and go to the Keys. So it really kind of depends on what what you're looking for as the individual, as a traveler, because it's all about you. It's not about me or what I want to do, it's about what you want to do.
So you would say that North America has a lot to offer?
Oh, of course we do, yeah. I mean, we're a big country and we really do. It depends on what you want to see. If you want to see the beautiful sights, I mean, you can go out west and we've got the national parks and we've got coastline all around us. It just kind of depends on what you as the traveler wants.
Ms. Keating, what's the biggest budgeting mistake?
I think maybe kind of our eyes a little bigger than what we can do, and we also have to take into consideration what it's going to cost once you get there. So you could have a budget of whatever amount, $2,000, $1,500, whatever amount is, but if you haven't budgeted what your costs are going to be when you arrive, then it's going to take a lot out of your vacation. You know, it's maybe you say, okay, for every day we're going to spend this much on food, and depending on how many people are going, $25, $50, whatever, and you have to stick to that. So it's just finding the budget that you're comfortable with and you can stick to. Otherwise, it won't be any fun when you get home.
Well, is there such a thing as over budgeting or over planning a trip?
Yeah, you can. You can definitely over plan a trip. You know, sometimes you have to understand when you're leaving your home and you're going somewhere else, things may happen. And if you plan every single minute and something comes in and messes up that little time frame of yours, traffic, anything can mess it up, then you've lost your day or you're disappointed. You should never, never overplan a trip. I always think, you know, it's fine to have a plan because that's what I do for a living is plan, but it's also nice to just kind of just let it go, let it happen, enjoy it. Enjoy the moment and don't get caught up in the details.
Well, you know, airlines can be very expensive.
Yes.
So what airlines offer the best deals?
They're all pretty competitive. We've got a few new airlines coming in that with the Southwest and the Allegiant and the Frontiers where you can get a little bit cheaper prices if they're going where you want to go. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. But it's just being open. Maybe change your dates. If you're stuck that you have to go this date and return this date, then there's nothing you can do. But if you could be a little flexible, sometimes the price can be a little bit lower.
Do you recommend Airbnb?
We don't, as a travel agency, they don't book with us. As far as Airbnb is concerned, you basically have to go in there and you're, as an individual, doing your own research on it. At this point, a lot of the people that I've talked to and the complaints I have heard was not really regulated. So maybe what you see in the little picture is not what you see when you get there. But I have had clients that have used Airbnb and have been very, very happy. And I know other people that have used it and they're a little bit disappointed. So I think at this point, Airbnb is still kind of up in the air.
Well, what about home exchange? Is that a way to cut costs?
It can be if you're going for an extended period of time. If you're going somewhere that you're going to be there for a couple months, then maybe a home exchange could, but then you have to understand that you're exchanging your home. So you're leaving someone in your house, and how comfortable are you with that? But I know people that have done it. They've done it when they've gone to study certain places or taken jobs certain places, and they've worked it out, so it's possible to do. But it takes a lot of planning, and it takes a lot of guts to do it.
Well, what's the best time of the year to travel in the U.S. or abroad?
Well, it depends what you're talking about. Weather, prices, there's different things that relate to the best time to travel. Any time that kids are in school, that's the most expensive time to travel because, kids are out of school, excuse me. That's the most expensive time to travel because that's the time of the year when most people travel. So if you have the ability to travel during off seasons, and off seasons are pretty much any time you're away from holidays, away from spring breaks, and the kids are in school, if you can do that, then you're probably going to find better prices. Weather is weather. Weather just depends. It's a great prices in the hurricane in the fall, but it's also, in the Caribbean in the fall, but it's also hurricane season. Mm-hmm. So, it just really kind of depends if you're willing to take the chance.
Well, if someone wanted to take a trip with your agency, mm-hmm. where would they go? Do you have a website or a phone number they could call?
Yes, it's travelinium.com, and they just go to that, and everyone's listed there, and just give us a call. We'd be glad to try to help.
Well, Ms. Keating, thank you so much for coming and talking with us about how to budget a trip.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
It's time to take a break, and when we return, we'll talk about family-friendly getaways with Regina Bryant from Travel Leaders. Welcome to Germantown High School, an international baccalaureate creative and performing arts optional school, a destination school for students who are going places.
So Our students are of the highest caliber when it comes to their academics and knowledge.
The IB program is a very rigorous program.
You were challenged in a way that you thought you couldn't be challenged. You succeeded, something that other kids may not have thought they could do.
They're accepted to colleges that are just, dream colleges for so many people.
Germantown High School offers a CAPA program, the Creative and Performing Arts program.
When I first came here, I saw the television studio and I was just amazed at what all I saw.
Kids do everything, that they're taught every detail that has to do with theater arts and creative arts.
I love a lot of things about Germantown High School, but primarily what I love is the athletics. There's something exciting around every single corner.
We probably are one of the most diverse high schools in the state of Tennessee, maybe the United States.
I would never doubt about sending your child to Germantown High School.
This high school is something not like any other high school that we have.
There's definitely fun in the work. We find fun in everything we do.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm your host, Raneem Imam. Earlier in the show, we had a chance to speak with two travel agents about exotic trips and budgeting. Now we are turning our focus to family vacations. Joining me now is Regina Bryant from Travel Leaders. Thank you so much for joining us
Well,
today.
thank you for inviting me.
So like we've just said, we've covered traveling to exotic destinations and budgeting for a trip. So tell us about family deals at Travel Leaders.
Well, we always have deals with Disney World, and that is the main destination for family travel. Everyone has a good time at Disney. Not only Disney, but the Disney Cruise Line is another great place that families love to go.
Of course, it's a popular pick. It's where all kids' dreams come true. Well, I know that you specifically do different types of trips for families. Tell us more about that.
Well, you can go to the best vacations for families are going to be all-inclusive resorts. And with all-inclusive resorts, you don't have to pay for anything when you get there other than maybe some optional tours and things like that. All of your meals are included, all of your soft drinks, all of your alcoholic beverages, all of the activities there at the resort. And if you want to go snorkeling, or if you want a spa treatment, or whatever that you want to do, they have it right there at the resort. And you don't have to keep, getting to your wallet to get money out for anything.
Now, for a Disney trip, do you try to model every Disney trip for a family the same way, or do you try to make it unique for each family?
Oh, everything is customized for each family. Not every family wants to do the same things. So we try to make it as custom as possible for each and every family, and what they like and what they don't like. And, every trip that we do for people, that's what we like to do, is customize it according to what your family needs and wants are.
Well, besides Disney's and resorts, what are some of the common places for families to take a vacation?
Well, the most common would be here in the United States. There's so many places, beautiful resorts and destinations here in the United States, California, New York. You can take your family to a play, maybe to see The Lion King while you're there. So there's a lot of places here in the United States that you don't have to spend a lot of money to go to. Other than that, Mexico is a great value for families, the Caribbean. So it's a lot of numerous places to go to. This world is so beautiful, and people really need to get out and see it and take their families. And it's so educational, too, for the kids to travel.
Ms. Bryant, tell us about your favorite trips to plan for families.
Well, the number one thing, I guess, is Disney World or Disneyland in California, and the Disney Cruise Line. A lot of the cruise lines now, not just Disney, but a lot of the cruise lines are wonderful places to take children, and for families, there's a little bit of activities for everybody on a cruise ship, and they do have children's classes on board the ship where each and every individual age group gets some kind of
wonderful activities and things to do, and they're so great with kids.
If a family wanted to go all out and go to an exotic destination for an adventurous trip, how would you specialize a trip for them?
Well, I would first find out what their needs are, what their wishes are, and make a trip especially for them. If you have some younger children, say 4, 5, and 6 years old, of course, you know, they're going to want a certain activities, and then the 10, 11, 12-year-olds are going to want something different. And like I just mentioned on the cruise ships, for example, and you don't have to just go to the Caribbean. You can go to Alaska. You can go to the Far East. You can go to Europe. They still have the children's classes on board the ship for those, and each age group is benefited with that. So you can go as far and exotic as you want to.
Well, Ms. Bryant, we know that you have a strong passion for travel. Tell us about your travel experiences.
Well, I have been on the Cunard QE2. I have sailed from New York to Southampton, England, transatlantic, and have stayed there I escorted a group of people. We stayed in London for a few days and did the Orient Express, the Pullman car, and then we took the Channel train to Paris and stayed in Paris for a few days. And then at that time, there was the Concorde. So we took the Concorde from Paris back to New York, and then the regular flights back to Memphis. So that was very exciting. Had a wonderful trip. Of all the cruises that I've been on, and I've been on a lot, I've been on Holland America and Princess, Cruise Line, Celebrity, many ships, Royal Caribbean. Cruising, I think, is probably my favorite, and especially with families, it's a great thing to do. It's so exciting for everybody.
How did you find the opportunity to merge your passion with your work?
Well, I knew I liked to travel. I've always liked to travel. I've lived in Hawaii and lived in five other different states. So traveling was my ideal, my thing that I wanted to do. And so it just came to pass that I eventually evolved into a travel agent.
Well, if someone wanted to get in touch with you or with travel leaders, how would they do that? Is there a number they could call or a website?
Yes, they can call 761-1708. That is our office number, and then our website is travelleaders.com/MEM.
Ms. Bryant, it was a pleasure having you on our show today.
Thank you so much.
Well, we have covered traveling, and traveling can be very stressful and expensive, but I hope we've given you some tips and ideas for your next trip. Remember, Crosstalk can be seen each week at 9:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. on Mondays, 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. Thursdays, and 7:30 p.m. on Sundays. For more information on our programming, please check us out on the web at GHS-TV.org, where we're streaming live 24 hours a day. You can also check us out on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Raneem Imam from all of us at GHS-TV. Thank you for watching Crosstalk, and I hope to see you again.